Rigid plans create fragile businesses. Flexible strategies create resilient ones. The advantage doesn't go to those who best have the original idea. It goes to those who can change direction fast when conditions shift. Are you built for adaptation or committed to stubbornness? In rapid changing markets, the half-life of any strategy is shrinking. What works today may be obsolete in 6 months, making the ability to pivot more valuable than any other ability to plan. Research tracking business resilience shows that companies with documented pivot capabilities survive market disruptions at a higher rate and adapt to competitive threats faster than organizations built around rigid strategic execution. How quickly could your business change direction if a current strategy stopped working today? The strategic direction trap locks businesses into approaches that make sense at a launch, but become increasingly misaligned with market realities, creating slow-motion failures where everyone can see the mismatch except the leadership, who is unwilling to pivot. Organizations lacking pivot capabilities experience higher vulnerability to disruption and slower response to competitive threats because their entire infrastructure is optimized for original plan, making meaningful changes seemingly impossible. Every system process and every decision you build, assuming your current strategy will work forever, is structured rigidly. You're installing and ensuring that when market shifts, they will. You'll be trapped watching nimble competitors capture opportunities while you're too inflexible to pursue because you built for execution, not adaptation. I've seen this in many ways. One customer I was working with had this infinitely beautiful, very structured, graphically spectacular process to capture information as it comes through during a specific launch, where we had millions of emails going out and hundreds of people promoting it all at the same time, driving to one specific area. The key was the message was off. And they did not adapt well enough to the changing times and the messaging that happened. It happened to be messages off because something happened in the news that changed the entire conversation. And every one of those specific documents and every one of those beautifully planned org charts all went out the window, and we had to pivot immediately. My team knows that if I tell them we've got a fire drill, that means something is happening, all hands on deck, let's figure out what we can do. And we had to pivot immediately. And so, therefore, creating a company that understands that the plan works really well until it actually hits the market, and then things may change. So how do you become more adaptable? You create flexibility, you create understanding, and you create knowledge. In other words, you don't have such specific silos that are unavailable during the time. If you had brought someone in to just do the video editing and shoot the video, and that's all you've got, then you've got to be able to shoot on the fly and edit on the fly. You have to have someone who can write text and write emails or change the message and re-edit. You have to have people who have a creative ability to switch gears, to think differently, to really step up and create it on the fly and test with the understanding that the idea you have may not work and you may need to shift again. Rigid thinking about exactly how this was done or how this worked last time is great until you actually get the first information, and then it may not work at all. Therefore, you must step up and step into something a little different, a little more interesting, or something completely out of your comfort zone. Creating the fundamental understandings for me of how to shoot video and how to create scripts, how to write information, who is there, and getting them to understand that we may have to pivot over and over again. I got a message from our video editor who was a little frustrated because one of our clients keeps changing. And I get it. You're working hard, you're doing great work. And he and I have worked together for almost 15 years. And he just needed a place to vent a little steam. And that was great. And I have no trouble with that. But I reminded him that he's doing great work and that the client is still trying to figure out where the market placement is and how you place this product into the market. So we have to pivot. And we've pivoted about 11 times. We're still getting there. We're getting much closer. But that means we're re-editing stuff and re-editing stuff. He's getting tired of watching the same videos. Can't blame it. But that's what we're known to do, is to be able to get in there and pivot. And in fact, don't tell him, but I'm going to have to tell him we're going to have to re-edit that again. And as we get information, we learn. And as we learn, we're able to move forward. And that's the beauty of being able to pivot. Other companies are going to have to reshoot and rework. We set it up with the expectation that we may have to change. And everyone's aware of that. Does it take more work? Absolutely. But it's better than throwing something out there and letting it sink. Instead, it may not float completely, but release another balloon, and another one, and another one. And that's because we've spent the time to understand the process, to understand the customer, and to understand how we can do it and continue to pivot. If we couldn't do that, if we couldn't deliver something of that quality, then we wouldn't be able to help him. Our markets are changing faster and faster. Whether you blame that on the digital market or the world or AI or whatever, our markets are changing. Our customers are expecting to be entertained differently, to be talked to differently, and to be reached differently. And we have to continue to grow in that way, and we have to be able to learn and move quickly. So therefore, there's never been a better and easier time for us to be able to get small and get nimble. The digital networks that we have, the ability to change things, to rewrite things, to work on things is better than it ever has been. Our ability to get out is absolutely incredible. But we have to be willing to change. Does that mean that change is easy? No, but we have to set up the flexibility to know that change is happening. Expect it even. Plan around it. If you're shooting video, shoot more video. Shoot a couple of things since you can do that, so that you have the ability to truly understand everything that's going on and exactly how it's going to work. And the power is that if you're able to be that nimble, there's always room for you, no matter what's going on. Just learning and creating and being that individual who can pivot and work a fire drill. We will have to always get used to it. The world is changing faster and faster. We're getting information and feedback faster and faster, which allows us the beauty thereof. What I'd love you to do is look at where you've pivoted last and where you think you could pivot in the future. Give yourself the ability to really learn something, create something. Be ready for the next pivot, because it's coming. And if you can pivot, your company and your organization will thank you. But more importantly, people you help. If you have a good pivot that you've done lately, put it in the comments below. Let's continue this conversation. Look forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode on the Strategy Session, where we take your business from stuck to unstoppable. Here's another video I think you'd enjoy. If you found these insights valuable, remember to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell for notifications on our latest videos. Remember, you're not just marketing, you're making history with Venture Gained.